Mini has ramped up its EV model lineup with this car, the Aceman. It was the brand's very first EV-only design, a small crossover based on the Mini electric hatch. If you like the idea of a small electric Mini but need a trendy dose of extra practicality, you'll need this film to find out more.
Mini wants to transition into being an EV-only brand as quickly as possible, and a milestone on that journey comes with the introduction of this car, the Aceman. It's the first of the company's models that will be sold only as an EV and is essentially a crossover version of the latest J01 series model Mini Cooper electric hatch, which means it's very much a Chinese product. The Cooper Electric was designed by Spotlight Automotive. Now that's a joint venture partnership between BMW and Great Wall Motors, which has also produced another model, the 𝗙će𝗹𝗹liche Aura 3 Super Mini. Acemans will be initially built at a Spotlight factory in Zhangjiang, north of Shanghai, before European production moves to BMW's usual Mini Oxford plant in 2026. The Aceman is neither a replacement for the Paceman 3-door crossover of 2012, nor is it a follow-up to the slightly curious Clubman Estate. Instead, it showcases a new Mini design language previewed by the Aceman concept of 2022, and it's designed to fit into the Mini lineup between the Cooper electric hatch and the Countryman electric, although unlike both of those models, Acemans can't be had in petrol form as an alternative. So does the Aceman have what it takes to stand out, both in a Mini showroom and, more importantly, in this overcrowded segment? To find out, as usual, you'll need the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test. When final touches to the engineering of this Aceman were being completed at the beginning of the decade, it must have seemed a clever and very forward-thinking idea to make it electric only. Today, though, its EV sales and public charging infrastructure programs falter rather. You do wonder whether Mini wishes now that a combustion-powered variant had also been planned for in the lineup. It had been, after all, with the current Cooper hatch and with the Countryman. What we have here is an EV-only range that kicks off with the base Aceman E variant propelled by a 184 horsepower front-mounted motor energized by a 42.5 kilowatt-hour battery offering a 192-mile range. 62 miles an hour takes 7.9 seconds en route to 99 miles an hour top speed. The mainstream alternative variant is the Aceman SE variant we're trying here, powered by a 218 HP motor, and that again is front-mounted. Unlike with the Countryman electric, there's no twin motor all-wheel drive version. This Aceman SE uses a larger 54.2 kilowatt hour battery, hence the longer 251 mile range, and 62 takes 7.1 seconds on the way to 106 miles an hour. At the top of the lineup is the Aceman John Cooper Works, which uses the same battery pack as the SE and basically the same front motor too, although it's in a form there which puts out a more potent 258 horsepower. So the 0 to 62 miles an hour time is reduced to 6.4 seconds en route to 124 miles an hour. There's a 242 mile range there. That rare 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹liche model's full output, by the way, along with 350 newton meters of torque, is only achievable for short periods via a selectable electric boost function. Like all Minis, the Aceman's quite fun to punt about, and as with the brand's other current models, there is also a choice of experience drive modes, not many of which actually have a great deal to do with driving. You can select from Core, Green, Go-Kart, Personal, Vibrant, Timeless, Balance and Trail. Go-Kart is obviously the one for speed, and it comes with a rather unnecessary woohoo when you select it, and then it introduces a fake rocket ship thruster noise under acceleration. Now you might think that's a lot of fun, or you might think it's irritating, take your pick. Selecting the Eco Green mode affects acceleration quite a lot, and balance, well, that sounds like you're in some sort of new age meditation session. Talking of audible ambience, there's a mini sound for the powertrain, which, as usual with BMW engineered models, makes your EV sound rather more like a tube train than it does like a car. Fortunately though, you can turn that off. Brake regen control is available, but it's buried in a touchscreen menu rather than being accessible where it should be with paddles behind the steering wheel. As far as the driving experience is concerned, well, the main thing that you're going to have to like in choosing an Aceman is ride quality on the firm side, but that doesn't seem to have put off legions of Mini customers in the past. Still, make sure you try that before you buy. No optional adaptive damping system is available to curb the jiggly ride over porous surfaces, and you really would have to be a rather committed enthusiast to deal with the even stiffer springs and the bigger wheels of the John Cooper Works version. But arguably this firm demeanour is all part of the sporty vibe which sets the Aceman apart from the legions of dull to drive rivals which clog up this part of the segment. And it's in a completely different league from the rather unconvincing drive dynamics of the larger Countryman electric model that we tried last year. Now, the sharp turning that comes with the 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹liche steering rack here is all part of this. So is the tenacious traction and the strong brakes. Talking of traction, incidentally, there's a drive-off support system which gets extra grip down at start-off in slippery conditions. In town, the 11.1 metre turning circle isn't particularly tight for such a small car, but decent refinement means it doesn't feel too much like a small car at highway speeds. Your first thought might be that this Aceman is merely a shrunken Mini Countryman. The so-called charismatic simplicity design cues are certainly supposed to suggest that, and to disguise the fact that what we actually have here is a supersized Cooper electric hatch with the same platform and drivetrains, and which roll down the same Chinese production line. As you can see from the 4 metre body length, 354 millimetres shorter than a Countryman. It's quite a bit bigger than a Cooper Electric, 221 mils longer and 54 mils taller. And it looks a more sophisticated thing with short overhangs, flush door handles, and an almost seamless transition between body and glass to optimise aerodynamics. SUV cues include unusual squared off wheel arch cladding, a contrast coloured roof and subtle roof rails, an oblong shaped badge in a design influenced by the respective trim level is attached to the front area of the side sill. And wheel sizes are between 17 and 19 inches. We've got the 18-inch rims here. Your view on the front end design will be influenced by just how much you like the surprised visual vibe of these angular rhombus-shaped LED headlights. They dominate a bluff front end decorated with a so-called grille surround strip, framing the non-existent octagonal grille and offered in colours designating your trim choice. Melting silver for base classic spec, this vibrant silver for plush exclusive, and gloss black for the top sport and JCW models. Large horizontal surfaces aim to give the rear a broad and stable stance, while the retracted rear window gets this elongated roof spoiler. Upright latticed LED rear lights get pushed out to each corner, and a wide darkened surround in the lower part of the skid plate embellished rear apron completes the exterior design. Now, since this car is fundamentally based on the Mini Cooper electric hatch, you wouldn't expect its interior to differ very much from that car. And it doesn't. So, as usual with modern Minis, the cabin's dominated by an ultra-slim dinner plate sized 9.4-inch OLED circular screen that takes care of both the infotainment and drive instruments. Most customers will add a head-up display, and that's viewed through this unusual wheel here with its fabric 6 o'clock lower spoke. The knitted recycled polyester fabric dashboard covering is also recognisable from other modern Minis. It brings what the brand thinks is a homely vibe. Not everyone's going to feel that, but what you can't argue with is a solid sense of quality here. The doors thunk, nothing squeaks or rattles, and the BMW stalks behind this thick-rimmed wheel smartly click about their business. Through the wheel, aside from the head-up display, there's nothing to see apart from a stitched dashboard trim strap, and there are plenty of other interesting design touches scattered around this cabin too, like the floating door pills, the little toggle switches beneath this central screen here, the flecked dash top, and the neat little Harman Kardon door speakers too. A nice finishing touch would have been the potential to slide back and forth the cup holders and the lidded box which sit in this long lower tray between the seats. Maybe that's the job for the facelift. We mentioned this huge 240mm central touchscreen. You're going to have to get to grips with this in driving this car because it controls just about everything. There are shortcut lower buttons, while in the top section, power and battery readouts flank a digital speedo. That sits above a big central section, which at the press of the lower home button displays with either dedicated content or rows of little icons. With the dedicated content, you can swipe left through drive modes, phone settings, navigation mapping, radio, voice control, weather, trip data, and an analog clock. The icon screen, meanwhile, gives direct access to lots of individually useful features like Wi-Fi and the Mini Connected Store, plus Alexa and Mini Personal Assistant voice control, which to get to work, you'll have to set up a Mini Connected online user account and then download it onto the car. Climate controls are permanently displayed, and by swiping upwards from the bottom edge of the screen, users can access what Mini calls a tool belt, where preferred functions like frequently visited destinations and radio stations can be saved for quick access. If you use the wireless phone mirroring system, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, they show as rectangles within the circle. Positioned below this monitor is the toggle bar we mentioned earlier, where the parking brake, the gear selector, the start-stop key, the Mini Experience mode toggle, and the volume controls are accessible via 5 individually designed physical toggles. This means no additional gear selector is needed, and that makes room for various storage solutions in the central console. In front of the cup holders is an optional tray for wireless charging, and you get a decently sized glove box, although the door bins are little more than bottle holders really. There's not much to criticise about the general ergonomics. It's disappointing that lumbar support for the one-piece sport seats costs extra, but the chair placement lines up really nicely with the wheel and pedals, and you're perched a little higher up than you would be in, say, a Cooper electric hatch, and that means a clearer view over this dashboard and this bonnet. Your frontward view forward is really very good, but thanks to the narrow rear screen, your rearward view isn't, so you're going to be really depending on those standard parking sensors and the rear view camera. Given that this Aceman is so much shorter than the Countryman, there is a surprising amount of space in the back. Where a 6-foot passenger could just about sit behind a similarly tall driver. You would struggle to fit anyone in the middle back here though, thanks to this kind of high central tunnel that you'd think a front-driven EV really wouldn't need. That 6-foot passenger that we mentioned might not appreciate you ordering this huge panoramic glass roof though. It does somewhat restrict the headroom back here, but on the other hand it does usefully lighten the cabin, and it's helped by these large quarter-light windows too. A lot of brands don't bother with interesting design for the rear door cards. That isn't the case here. It distracts your attention from the tiny door pockets and the headrests which dig uncomfortably into the back of your neck until you raise them. There are seat back pockets back here. There are also overhead reading lights, coat hooks, twin USB-C ports, and a central cup holder. Space in the rear was clearly prioritised here over boot capacity. As you'll see when we lift the tailgate, that rises to reveal just 300 litres of luggage room, one of the smallest spaces in the segment. Since unlike some rivals, this EV doesn't provide any under bonnet front space for the charging leads. It's just as well that you can fit at least one of those in this deep well below the floor, even with the Harman Kardon audio upgrade fitted as it is here. Push the adjustable height floor into its lowest position, and this is a deep space, although there's still a high sill to get your stuff over to access it. There's a 12-volt socket on the left, a warning triangle in the inner hatch and a right-hand light, but there's nowhere for any kind of spare wheel, and Mini's forgotten to add bag hooks or even a ski hatch or a useful 40-20-40 rear bench split, which means that if you do have two rear-seated passengers, longer items like skis, well, they're going to have to go on the roof. With everything flattened, up to 1,005 litres of space is available. As we filmed in spring 2025, prices were starting at around £29,000 for the 42.5 kilowatt-hour Aceman E, around £32,000 upwards for this 54.2 kilowatt-hour Aceman SE. Overall, you've got to think in terms of a £2,000 premium over the Mini Cooper electric 3-door hatch. Bear in mind that the prices I just quoted are based on entry-level classic trim. You're probably going to want more than that. From there, pay either £2,200 more to get the mid-level exclusive spec that we're trying here, or £3,500 more over base spec to get the sport package. The top John Cooper Works Aceman, which costs from around £37,000, has its own standalone trimming package. As you probably know, there's a vast amount of competition from small EV crossovers pitched around this Chinese-built model's chosen £30,000 to £35,000 price point. Perhaps the closest modelling concept to this Mini is the Ford Puma Gen E, which is similarly priced and more practical, but isn't as nicely put together. Which you could also say actually about the less sporty, similarly priced Stellantis group contenders, which also reside in this class. Cars like electric versions of the Vauxhall Mokka, the Peugeot 2008, the Citroën C3 Aircross, the DS3, the Jeep Avenger, and the Alfa Romeo Junior. Other possible options at this price point also include the VW Group offerings in the segment, the VW ID3, the Cupra Born, and the Skoda Elroq. And you could also consider the Volvo EX30, the Kia EV3, the Hyundai Kona Electric, the Smart #1, the Omoda E5, or if you're happy with a conventional hatch, Citroën EC4, or a base Vauxhall Astra Electric too. We can see though why you might consider all of those and still conclude that there's nothing quite like an Aceman, in which case you're really going to need to know just how generous Mini's been here with the standard specs. So let's take a look at that right now. Standard equipment across the range includes LED headlights, a contrast coloured roof, matrix rear lights, roof rails, rear parking sensors, a rear view camera, cruise control and Mini Experience drive modes. Inside, all Acemans get Mini's big round OLED fascia screen, ambient lighting, automatic air conditioning, a heated steering wheel, a front armrest and a Sport Vessin faux leather trimmed steering wheel. If you're having all of this with base classic trim, then your Aceman will come with 17-inch X-spoke alloy wheels and a black and blue dashboard knitted panel. And there's the no-cost option of a body-coloured roof and a lighter upholstery shade. If you stretched from the smaller battery Aceman E to this bigger battery Aceman SE, you'll also get the contents of Mini's Level 1 pack. That costs £2,000 more on the Aceman E. This gives you comfort access keyless entry, extended LED headlights with a high beam assistant, a wireless charging pad, heated front seats, a head-up display, the brand's power folding exterior mirror package, and an anti-dazzle rear view mirror. Mini boasts that this Aceman is one of the most connected cars ever, courtesy of a revised My Mini app. You'll need to sign up to a Mini Connected account. This just takes a couple of minutes though to make the most of all this media wizardry. Do bear in mind that if you don't, the rather intrusive standard fit Mini sound propulsion noise stays permanently switched to on, and personal assistant voice control system, that won't work. The car's round Mini interaction unit screen comes with built-in Alexa 2, and via that personal assistant setup, owners can choose a digital depiction of a British bulldog named Spike as their screen avatar of choice. Plus, the infotainment system includes navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, Wi-Fi, and access to the Mini Connected Store too. Third-party apps like Spotify fit into and work on the central screen as well. We mentioned the two other trim levels. We've got exclusive here, designated by 18-inch night flash spoke alloy wheels and a vibrant silver front grille surround, and inside by a dark headliner, dark petrol 𝗙cie upholstery, and a petrol with patent orange coloured dashboard knitted panel. With top sport trim, you get a front and rear apron, a rear spoiler with air blades, and the 18-inch wheels are of a 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹cie slide spoke design and have 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹cie Sport black brake calipers. Inside with sport spec, there's 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹cie black 𝗙cie cord combination upholstery and the 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹cie black red coloured dashboard knitted panel. Beyond these trim packages, Mini mainly sorts its available options into 3 packs, the first of which, level 1, we've already mentioned. This test car has level 2, which adds a panoramic sky roof, sun protection glass and a Harman Kardon audio upgrade. If you've avoided base trim, then your dealer will want you to go further and add the top level 3 pack. Now with that, Mini will also add augmented reality navigation, powered front chairs with an active driver's seat and a parking assistant plus system. The level 3 pack, that also includes an interior camera. This will record entry to the car if it's broken into, and it allows you to send journeying pictures to your friends. And you'll get the driving assistant plus pack's active cruise control system too, with a stop and go function. This virtually drives the car for you at highway speeds. At pack 2 and pack 3 level, you can also pay £700 more for a tow bar. On to safety provision. At a minimum, all Acemans come with the contents of Mini's driving assistant pack. This includes forward collision warning with brake intervention, lane keep assist, blind spot detection, rear collision prevention and vehicle exit warning. There's driver monitoring too, and thankfully, unlike some rival systems, it's not too intrusive. Talking of intrusive features, we were pleased to find that the mandatory traffic sign recognition run speed limit assist chime could be easily turned off via a long press of the cruise control set button. Now, we gave you the battery range figures in our driving section. 192 miles from the 42.5 kilowatt hour battery, only 38.5 kilowatt hours of that is usable. That's in the Aceman E, and 251 miles from this Aceman SE variant's 54.2 kilowatt hour battery. 49.2 kilowatt hours of that is usable. It's 242 miles for the John Cooper Works version. Depending on variant, Mini reckons the Aceman should manage an efficiency showing somewhere between 3.8 and 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. And our test, it's certainly been more like 3.8 miles per kilowatt hour. Various tools help you to maximize range. Obviously, the green Mini Experience mode, and there's a charge optimized routing function too for the navigation. What about charging? Well, we didn't expect much here because the base Aceman E can only charge at an almost unacceptably feeble rate of 75 kilowatts. Even this bigger battery Aceman SE only manages a maximum of 95 kilowatts. To give you some class perspective there, a Volkswagen ID3 can manage 135 kilowatts or even more. Mini urgently needs to work on this. Even so, a 10 to 80% DC public charge can be completed in either 29 or 31 minutes, depending on the battery size you choose. You'll probably be able to live with that For AC charging at home, a full battery replenishment for an Aceman E using a typical 7.4 kilowatt garage wallbox needs just over 6 hours. It'd be around 9 hours for this SE version. If your property can sustain an 11 kilowatt wall box with a 3-phase supply, you can reduce those times to 4 hours 15 minutes or 5 hours 30 minutes respectively. As we filmed, the AC charging cost to fill this Mini's battery was around £12.75 at a typical 30 pence per kilowatt hour household rate. Public DC charging will of course cost you much more depending on how and where you do it. By using Mini navigation, the vehicle will ensure the high voltage battery reaches the ideal temperature for efficient charging in advance. That reduces, of course, the charging time. Customers can also optimize charging for their schedule, setting charging start times, active charging windows, and target battery capacity by departure time. Finally, drivers can instruct that the interior cabin is air conditioned by a set departure time. The My Mini app provides a convenient overview of the vehicle status and the charging process, including current battery status, charging optimized route plans, and charging history. If you're converting to an EV from a previous conventional combustion engine model, then you will obviously have to factor in the cost of an EV charger to your home and perhaps also one to your office, I suppose. There is still complexity around the best charging hardware to choose and who is eligible for a government grant. And obviously the costs can vary depending on the distance from your main meter to your charger and other factors. There is a lot of advice out there, of course. To guide you, we consulted plugmein.com. They offer customers everything from choice of charger to installation and ongoing maintenance. What else? Well, as we filmed, EV benefit in kind taxation for the 25 to 26 tax year was set at 3%. As you probably know, electric vehicles are no longer exempt from VED road tax, and you now have to pay the London congestion charge too, although they are still exempt from charges in the London ULEZ zone. As expected, there's a normal, mediocre 3-year unlimited mileage warranty, and the battery has its own 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty. Most customers still will want to buy into the provided Mini Electric pay monthly service plan to manage their maintenance costs. There's a vehicle status section of the central screen, which has a graphic of a car rising on a workshop ramp, and that offers a tyre pressure monitor, details on battery temperature, check control, and also servicing interval updates. Residuals should be strong, and Mini itself offers comprehensive insurance, but you might find your own broker can improve on the premiums that your dealership can arrange. Insurance grouping starts from 20 for the Aceman E, it's group 23 to 24 for the bigger battery SE, and group 29 for the John Cooper Works. You could certainly argue that this is a much more authentic kind of Mini crossover than the larger Countryman, and we'd agree. Pretty much all the things that make a little Cooper hatch fun to drive and own carried forward here, and that isn't something that you can say about that larger model. But the downside of that comes with limitations on range, on charging speed and boot space. Plus there's a pretty firm ride here that not everyone is going to like. On the plus side, along with its vibrant personality, the Aceman serves up the nicest looking, the highest quality, the most personalisable cabin in the segment, and that makes it a tempting showroom proposition. And that's one of the reasons why Mini believes the Aceman might one day be its best-selling model. We can't help thinking that at present though, that day looks pretty far in the future, and it would have helped this car's sales prospects right now if the brand had chosen to offer it with the combustion power option that you do get in the equivalent Mini Cooper hatch. But the Chinese underpinnings are all EV orientated, so is the Aceman, and so will be those who really want one. Such customers will see this small electric Mini crossover as so fashionable and forward-thinking that a fossil-fueled power plant will be inappropriate. Perhaps they're right. More than any battery-powered Mini model before it, this one most clearly shows the company's future. The adventure awaits.